Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice a week long form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there that from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see meaningful difference in your business, in your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth. B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. All right, it is Friday, and we all know what that means, you guys. It is Q&A day. I love this day of the week for the show. I love being able to respond to everybody's questions that I get throughout the week, and sometimes I can't get to them out there because again, you guys, I'm out here building up my brokerage with all of you, right? We're going in lock and step. I'm here going through this every step of the way. If you guys are cold calling, I'm cold calling. If you guys are out there building, I'm out there building with you. And it was a lot more efficient to be able just to dedicate one day a week to all of this. And that's what we're going to do today, you guys. But before we go any further, as always, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And we all like making money too. And that's what you get with VHub is you can get on there and you can reserve one of the repositionings. You get paid to move these trailers, you guys. So what they're working on right now is they have Lafayette, Indiana, going down to Lake City, Florida, and you get $500 US per trailer. They also have Fontana, California, going out to Springdale, Arkansas. Got a dry van out there. You get $1,800 to move that. And this is all on top of the revenue that you get by loading these trailers out, you guys. They also have Evansville, Wisconsin, going to Mississauga, Ontario. You get $500 to do that, $500 US. And then they finally have Parkland, Florida, going to Milton, Ontario, and you get $1,000 US to move that. So hit them up, you guys, vhubapp.com. And my friends Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. All right, let me see here. Zena, what's going on? Good morning. Happy Friday. Let's have a great one, everyone. Bill McIntyre, what's going on, my man? Thank you for tuning in, as always. Got over on YouTube, CDN Freight Broker. Good morning, Chris. Building your broker agency. Consistency is the name of the game. Polite persistence wears down resistance. Dude, I like that line, man. I like that line a lot. You're right, man. Building it up. We're both with SPI Logistics. That's where we both have. That's where my agency's from. That's where his agency's from as well. And, it's the importance of having that partnership, or really any partnership, right? Like I had a really good conversation yesterday with a gentleman at Clint Weston. He's with Shoreline Capital. And that interview is going to be coming out here in a couple of weeks. And, they're a factoring company and everything. And it's, just having the right partners in business is, especially early on, like I don't think it's talked about enough how capital intensive it can be to start any company, right? And then but there are alternatives out there that help you kind of navigate through a lot of these building stages, right? So it's like, for me personally, partnering with SPI goes a lot deeper than them, advertising on my podcast. That's who I have my brokerage through, and they're phenomenal partners across the board. The resources that are at our disposal so we can just grow our business it's insane. It's insane what's out there. And then, the technology is cutting edge, and you know what? Getting paid is always cool too. Every single Friday, getting that direct deposit, right? And it helps us manage our cash flow on our end so we can make more and more investments into our business. Let me see here. Christine, what is going on? Hi, Scott Watanabe, the Freight Sensei in the house. Dude, it's good to hear from you, Scott. It's been a minute, man. Happy Friday to you. But yeah, it's having those partnerships in business. It's so crucial to the long-term success of everything out there, and really building up and being able to scale. And there are options out there, no matter what. So if you're in one of those positions right now, you got to look at it from that perspective. Is there is a solution. As dire as it might seem, there is a solution for you out there. There are partners out there. There are companies out there that want to help you succeed, and they have the resources for you to help you succeed, right? I mean, I have my man James Courier on here all the time. He's with Finlock, and from a financing perspective, I mean, we talk about a lot of those things, and I know that that's a very real concern for a lot of people right now through a lot of that, and it's partnering with a guy like him, over at Finlock, and then also we got my man Anthony Petit, who comes on all the time with FinPark. Same thing. You guys, there's a safe and secure truck parking solution for you guys that's up and running. They're across the board. And, Anthony is truck parking, in my opinion, out there, no matter what. He was the first one out there with his first startup and where he is now. And, he is truck parking, and then same with VHub, right? If you're out there, you guys, and you want to, like, again, like I say, the trailer availability every single day on the show, you guys, that's additional revenue for you. All of that freight, all of those trailers that you can move is on top of the revenue that you can get by loading that trailer out. So that's an additional way to make revenue in your business, you guys. So there are alternatives and options that are out here. Sonny Sharma, happy Friday, Freight Freaks. Let's go. And yeah. So also, you guys, as we're kind of getting in, I got a couple of questions. As you guys know, Friday's Q&A day. I'll get to those questions here in a second. I wanted to do another fuel update because it's at $4.54 a gallon nationwide and rising. Sorry, Sonny. I know that that's way below what you guys are at in California, but that is out there. And it's one thing to take into consideration as you guys are bidding on freight every single day out there. Like this morning's been popping for me. We've got a couple of same day loads that we're getting picked up. We got a couple of loads are moving early next week already that we're covering. And again, shout out to my friends over at Green Screens. I literally use them for every single load that I quote. Every single load that I'm bidding on right now is awarded through the price that I'm getting through Green Screens, you guys. And it's crazy how accurate their pricing is and how it gets smarter the more and more that you use them. And again, it's when you're building up, that's literally the first thing I would get outside of, obviously your TMS aside. If you're out there, getting a good pricing tool for you is crucial for your long-term success, and especially one that is invested in the industry as Green Screens is, right? I mean, you can reach out to those guys anytime. Don, Kevin, Matt Silver, Celine, any of those guys, you can reach out to them if you guys have any questions about it. But I'm literally using them every single day. I won the literal same day load that we're picking up here in a couple hours was one off of that stuff, you guys. And that's how you keep up with the market, right? Because things are changing, you guys, whether people want to admit it or not. The rates are changing. Capacity is starting to tighten up. It might not be everywhere, but I'm noticing it in the markets that I'm moving. It's not going to be as easy as you think. So you need to get ahead of a lot of these situations. You really do, you guys, because it's going to get real. If you've never worked through, if you've only known this industry from 2000 till now, I don't want to say there's going to be a rude awakening coming in for you, but there is going to be a massive shift in perspective on how this industry actually operates. If you think that it's always going to be this way, you got a rude awakening coming. And trust me, you guys, you got about 7 months until this market really, truly flips. Really, truly flips where it's going to be a carrier market. And I'm afraid that the pendulum is going to swing back harder than anyone's ever seen. I truly feel that way because it's been a beat down here for a while. And then especially when, again, you guys, fuel prices are rising and they're continuing to rise. It's going to come back and it's not going to be pretty unless you adopt the right practices right now and make stuff happen out there. Okay. And that's what we need to do to make it through any freight market out there, is focusing in on those partnerships, focusing in on actual partnerships, right? because that's what's going to help you navigate through a lot of this stuff. You got to stay up to date on the market because, not everybody has access to contracted rates, right? Not everybody does. And a lot of us out there, myself included, the lanes that we're moving are spot market lanes, right? Like not everybody has a carrier base out there for a brand new lane. You can't just snap your fingers and have them. So I think that that's one thing to really take into consideration as the market continues to shift and evolve. All right. Sorry, I gotta drink more coffee. I've been in the office since I don't know. I'm not trying to say this right. It's probably like 5 o'clock this morning. I got in. It's been a busy morning, but I fucking love it. Nahima, I love it. Thank you for tuning in. We go live every single weekday, man. Every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. This is Fridays are Q&A shows. So if you have any sales or operations related questions for the industry, I would definitely drop them in the chat and I will answer them live for you on the show. Stephen Thompson, good morning and happy Friday to you. And Christine, no worries at all. We go live every single weekday. We only talk about transportation in this. So yeah, if you have any sales or operations related questions for the industry today, drop them in the chat. I'll answer them live for you on these shows. But the first question that I got that I wanted to talk about is this kind of tying this in to what I was just mentioning there about the core carrier portion of this, and really building this up as the market changes, right? Because especially right now, when because I talk about the importance of core carriers, but we had an example of this right now. We have a resource, excuse me. We're going with this right now. Like we actually reached out to a company that we've only booked them one time. I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago. And, we've stayed in contact with them. We've brought them more loads and, it just didn't unfortunately work out at that time, but we actually were able to lock them in on a load for us picking up on Monday. And how are you able to do that when the volumes are low? It's just staying in contact with them, right? Because as you're building up, you don't have access to every single lane out there. You're not going to have a ton of volume to work with, but it's reaching out to those carriers that you book right away and continuing to reach out to them as your opportunities grow, right? I think that is where a lot of this comes into play. Is we need to be able to build up that way, right? Because that shows them, in my opinion, that you are invested in their business, just like you want them to be invested in yours. And when you're bringing them more and more options, I think that just shows that you're in that building phase, and there's really nothing wrong with that because it's not going to work out in every single time. But I think that eventually you'll be able to lock it in, and then you find out where their service areas are. You'll find out where things are and where they're moving for them. And then that's when you know that, hey, all right, this lane and this lane is going to work out for you. But continue to bring those options out there because in a slower freight market right now, from a carrier's perspective, they might not run a defined region. They might not have that ability to because they need to just get freight, right? So they might have an expanded coverage area. So for me, though, it's the importance of delivering that freight to their to them every single time that you get a load available. I think that's what is going to build up long-term success. And I think that as this market is about to shift, that's what's going to help you sustain through all of these market shifts out there is because the ones who are doing right by carriers right now, those are the ones that are going to always be successful no matter what. You're never going to see some of those individuals posting out there on social media about how, all these carriers need to focus on relationships when, as I've been saying here lately, you guys, these are the exact same brokers that are posting shit for $1 a mile right now and driving carriers out of business. They selectively care about this stuff, right? And you got to live by this stuff every single day. Every single load that we move right now, we have our carriers that we reach out to first. Now, and a lot of it, how do we reach out, or how do we decide who to reach out to first? Depends on the geographic region. Like we move a lot of freight down in Florida. We got a lot of intrastate Florida carriers that we pretty much handle all of our freight with. We move a lot of freight out of Colorado. We move a lot of freight out of Arizona, the West Coast, kind of. I mean, and then I would say the Southeast and the West Coast is kind of our jam, right, for our current customer base right now. And we have carriers in those regions that we reach out to first, but we'll reach out to everybody, right? If you've hauled a load for us, we'll reach out to everybody to see, hey, you might have a truck in that area, or you might know somebody who does, right? And I think that that's the greatest benefit of having a carrier base is they'll refer you other trucking companies if they know that you're legit. They will refer you other trucking companies, and that's how you uncover all the hidden capacity that never makes it out there to a load board. So I think right now, that's how I would do it. If you're kind of building up your book of business and the volume's kind of low, you're not having a ton of consistent freight. You might have worked with only like 3 or 4 carriers and you're just getting your next load. I always reach out to the carriers who have done loads for you, even if it's not in the same area, because they might have a truck out there, or you know what, they might know somebody who does. I think that's the most efficient way to build stuff up. Steve Hunt says you can watch the replay over on YouTube. Yeah, you guys, because I stream live on YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn. Just look for the Freight Coach on all of those platforms. I appreciate you throwing that out there, Steve. And Scott, thank you as well for saying it's a great resource, man. I appreciate that very, very much. Hold on one second, you guys. I actually got to reply to a customer here because we actually just won another shipment for today. Here we go. Yeah, you guys, again, I'm in it with you. No matter what, you guys, I'm in it with you. And again, I'm this shipment's awarded off of the rate we provided on Green Screens, FYI, from Green Screens. All right, give me just one second here. All right. See? There we go. I can't apologize, you guys, because again, I'm in the trenches with you. Like, I'm literally not bullshitting you guys when I say that I'm doing all this, because I am. We're out here building this stuff up all the time, you guys, and I'm in the trenches with you guys. And again, that's why I want to do these shows, is because I'll give you real fucking feedback on what's going on out there. I don't just like talk. I do talk shit into a mic most of the time, but I'm actually in here making this stuff happen. I appreciate that, Sonny. Sonny says use broker carrier to post your lanes that you are working on to your carrier partners, and that's really what it's all about, you guys. And that's why we built Broker Carrier, right? That's a company that I'm a partner in. My man Kyle Provost, who's been on the show a bunch of times, you guys, because it is all about reusing the same carriers. You know, again, carrier identity and all of that stuff important, but that's what we do, right? Like, of course we're going to do that. But we want you to use the same carriers time and time again out there, no matter what. We want you to use those same trucking companies. We want you to be more efficient with your time, because you do that more, it's going to lead to more business. Trust me. Jamila, let me see here. She says, Jamila Scott, what is the most efficient way to get loads as a new broker? Jamila, I think that for me personally, I always talk about a niche, because that's what I'm all about. In my brokerage, Freight Coach Logistics here, we primarily specialize in open deck and heavy haul transportation. When I say primarily, it's because we do dry van freight as well, because there's a blend of mix with a lot of our open deck shippers, because they ship sometimes critical components that they need inside of an enclosed trailer. But I go way back. So wherever you're located in the country, I would start in my backyard. So what I do here, because I live out in Arizona, I'm actually next week, I'm taking a road trip out to visit some prospects that are in the state. I want to do that inside of the state of Arizona. I want to meet people in person. So I always talk about owning your backyard, right? So for me personally, what I do is I specialize in open deck and heavy haul. I'll be very commodity specific to my prospect, right? If they haul pipe, I want to talk to them. All right. We primarily haul pipe, building materials, and construction equipment, and precast concrete. Those are my core 4 that I would really say that we go after. And then I go after everybody here who's in Arizona. My whole thing, I want to meet people in person, right? So I want to go out there and I want to show up at their facility. I want to meet them and I want to talk to them about our capabilities in person. I think it's very much about keeping it simple. I don't agree with the notion of going after everything and casting a wide net, as some people say. I think that as your first, the most beneficial thing for you to do is have the same conversation time and time again. So wherever you're located at in the country, choose one specific commodity, whatever your town is known for. If if your town has a bunch of plastics manufacturers, specialize in that and dry van transportation, learn the terminology. What does that need? What does that commodity need to be shipped? Right? Is it load bars or is it or are straps fine? Does it need vertical E-track? Does it need to be a dry van only? Can it go on a dry van or a reefer? I would learn the intricacies of that shipment. And then I would sell based on that's your niche, that's your specialization, because that sounds a lot different, right? We, as freight brokers, we do not have the capabilities of like being the best at everything, right? I've had shippers on this show that will literally tell you that. You need to have a core competency and you need to go after that time and time again. I'm finishing up a really a good book right now about the 22 principles of marketing. And it talks about how some of the largest brands today, some of the biggest failures that they've had is because they went away from their core competency and then they started to try and do other things. I think that there's a gross misconception on how large the freight market is and why others like just go after different things. I think if you focus on a core competency, a niche freight mix in a niche region, you will have more success doing that than anything out there. I truly, truly feel that way. So I would start there, Jamila, wherever you're located at, choose a freight type. If it's reefer freight and you guys have seafood in the air, or just specialize in one thing like that and have that same conversation, because the confidence that you're going to search for is going to come in the repetition. So set that number every single day. I like whatever number it is, whether you want to make 30 calls a day, 50, 100, whatever that number is, set that number and hold yourself to that day in and day out. And that's what I would really do. I think that's the most efficient way to find loads as a new broker. I hope that answered your question. Let me see. Just another quick note, you guys. I don't know if you guys saw this, but did you guys see that the cybersecurity attack in Las Vegas? Like, it's insane. Like, Caesars paid out like 15 million to some hackers. The MGM, they're still having issues right now. They've been shut down. It's bad, like really, really bad. And this is a growing thing. And you might sit here and say, like, what does it have to do with me in transportation? That's a lot, right? Like, I'm actually going out. And if you guys are in the Houston, Texas area or going to be in Houston at the end of October, I believe it's October 23rd through the 24th in Houston, Texas, the NMFTA has their annual cybersecurity conference. I think you would be shocked at how much in our industry things can be hacked and everything else. And I would definitely check that out. I'm actually going to be doing my live show from there as well. But again, you guys, it's crazy what's going on out there in Vegas right now. And there is nothing that could stop that from happening in the transportation industry. All right. And that's another thing to be talking to your technology partners on, is what does their cybersecurity protocols look like and how are they protecting you and your organization? Because I mean, $15 million is a lot of money to pay, even for anybody in Las Vegas, right? So keep that in mind. Hey, anytime, Jamila. Like I said, we do this every single Friday. Sales and operations related questions for the transportation industry. So please feel free to come back, drop them in the chat, and I'll answer them live for you on the show. The last question that we're going to get to is quoting loads in the future. So this is another thing that you're going to experience out there when you're building your book of business. And the loads that you're going to get access to right away might not move for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And you're going to have to prepare a price for that. And when do you start working on that load, right? That's one of the more challenging things, because you don't want to wait too long to start working on it, but you don't want to work it too far in advance. And then for some reason, something happens to the carrier and then their load that was going into that market wasn't going to, isn't going to make it in there. And then you have a situation where you lost your truck for that load. So it's really balancing out that fine line. I think that, again, focusing on that core carrier base, always reaching out to them first and keeping them in the loop, right? I would say give them about a 7-day heads up to the core carrier base. And I personally think that, from my perspective, no more than 72 hours in advance is when you should work on those loads. But no more than 72 hours in advance and no later than 48 hours in advance is when you should do it, right? And really just getting it out there and throwing out there some feelings, and then don't get discouraged if you're not getting a ton of action on it right away. We've all been there in those situations, and more times than not, it's just because the capacity is kind of like, this is going to sound shitty, but capacity is what it is at that time. But I would say that 72-hour mark is the best time to start working on that load. So if there's a load picking up on Monday, I would start working it on Thursday, the week prior, and then get that rolling. You could even go as early as Wednesday if you really wanted. But I think depending on what the load is, I would say no earlier than Thursday, realistically, on that. Because again, you're going to go out there and you're going to quote this stuff a few days in advance, or a few weeks in advance, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in advance. And then, what are you going to do in that situation? You want to make sure that you're working it with enough time, but you don't want to put yourself in a position where you waited too long. I would never work a load same day to try and get it covered, especially if you quoted it a few weeks in advance and you had a couple of weeks heads up on when it's going to ship. I always get ahead of these things. Do not wait on that. But yeah, because a lot of the loads that you might get access to early on, they might have a 4-week ship date, right? Like, hey, that's what happened. I got awarded some loads last week that are shipping in early October, right? We're going to probably work them at least 48 hours in advance, maybe 72 hours in advance, depending on the shipment and everything at that time. I don't remember what the lanes are off the top of my head, but that's our approach with it. And I would take that, right? Don't ever work on it same day, right? Don't ever wait until the last minute to cover that load. You're going to want to do that. And frankly, it's going to help you sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that, hey, you got a carrier on the load. You talked to the driver. You verified this is where they're delivering. This is what time. It's an appointment time. They have all the pickup information. They have all of that stuff. It's just going to help you sleep a little bit easier at night, you guys, especially when it's the first load for a new customer and you want it that far in advance. You don't want to lose sleep on it and stress yourself out. Just get ahead of it. And it's not always going to be about how much money you can make on that load. It's more about, how do I book the right carrier on it to ensure that we have everything in line so we can come in with a clean slate and we can come in with them having the right truck for that shipment out there and do it that way. But that's how I would handle that one. Thank you guys for those questions that came in via DM. Said fantastic information you are sharing via customer visits, commodity focus. My last video was exactly on the importance of customer visits. Great show today. I appreciate that, man. Again, you guys, I'm just bringing you my perspective about what I do and what I have done in my career. Again, I've been in this industry for about 12 years now. I've been a freight broker almost the entire time, outside of the few couple of years that I was a sales consultant in 2020, when I jumped in and started out all of this stuff on my own and started creating content and everything. But I've been in the trenches with you guys. I'm in the trenches right now. I'm just putting the information out there from somebody who's doing the work, as opposed to somebody who's theorizing about what they might do in there. I'm just telling you guys what I know works from my perspective in that. But that is going to be it for today, you guys. We will be back on Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard here today, subscribe to the show, you guys. Get it out there, share it out there to your network, because if you guys see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I'll be talking to you soon.